I'm Joey,
I'm Jason.
and this is Metal
Monster
Review. Today we're going to talk about a classic metal album. And it's been a little while since we've done any metal albums here, so this is a good one to get back into. This is a thrash metal classic from 1984. Today we are doing Metallica's Ride the Lightning. What can you say about this? A lot of killer stuff on this album. Just the opening track alone, Fight Fire with Fire.
Yeah, when you told me about Metallica, I know who Metallica is, but I never sat down and listened to full albums. The only full album I listened to before all this, I talked to him, was the Black album, and he told me, "Dude, they're so much better than this. You got to listen to the other stuff."
Yes, and get into that 80s thrash metal, especially with Metallica. You can't really go wrong with those first four Metallica albums. Ride the Lightning is a very fast-paced record. I mean, I just mentioned just a moment ago just the opening track on there. And listen to Fight Fire with Fire. I mean, what was your outlook when you first heard that song for the first time?
That's when I first put that CD in there. That's the first track on there. When it first starts, it's real slow, and then I start thinking, "What the hell's this?" Then it just fucking picks up, man.
Just that double bass, just coming right at you. A lot of really killer guitar work on here too, you know what I mean? And I believe some of the music, I'm not 100% sure, because I know Dave Mustaine had some music that was used on Kill 'Em All, but I'm not 100% sure if any of it was used off of Ride the Lightning. But Ride the Lightning is very thrashy, and that's one thing that I totally dig about this album. From start to finish, it is a good record. Ride the Lightning is a killer song as well. What's another song that stands out with you off this album?
Well, the one big one, for whom the bell tolls.
Yes, For Whom the Bell Tolls is a killer song. I like Fade to Black as well. That's another cool song. And I'm going to let you in on something here. My favorite Metallica song is off this album, although I will level with you and I will not lie to you. This is not my favorite Metallica album, but my favorite Metallica song of all time is Creeping Death. That is just a killer fucking song from start to finish. What's your favorite track off this record?
Mine's probably Fight Fire with Fire.
The opening track. It just sets the pace for the rest of the record. It really does.
Even Escape is... I sort of like Escape too.
Yeah. Look, you can't go wrong. There's not a bad track off this record. There's nothing off this album that I dislike in the slightest. And even the instrumental song at the very end, The Call of Cthulhu, it's really cool too.
I think it's cool. It starts out, you got three big bangers right off the bat. But then towards the end, your song comes on, Creeping Death, and it gets right back into it again.
Yeah, I mean, this album is just a fast-paced album, and it's just a killer record all around. Really, in all honesty, to me, there's not a bad song on this album. There's really not. Especially looking at the time, we're in 1984 here, you know what I mean? So thrash metal is really like picking up and taking off, because there's a lot of great thrash metal bands, that are around at that time. Think about, Anthrax was in the midst of doing Spreading the Disease. I know it didn't come out till the following year. Slayer had Haunting the Chapel. You know what I mean? And around this time, Dave Mustaine was forming Megadeth. you know what I mean? So the groundwork is being laid here for what's to come later. But a lot of really killer music just came from the 80s and 80s thrash. And that's one thing that I love about it. And here we are many years later, and we're still talking about it. There's just so many great iconic albums that came out of that decade that are hitting anniversaries. I know Metallica's on tour this year, and they're hitting their 40th anniversary. You know what I mean? Just listening to Liquid Metal last week, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance, hit his 40th anniversary. Wasp is on their 40th anniversary tour. So that's pretty cool that here we are many years later, and we're still talking about these albums, you know what I mean, and these bands. And that's what I hope, that's one thing that I do love about our show, you know what I mean, because we can continue talking about these things because they become iconic and classic. So, do you have anything else you'd like to add about Ride the Lightning?
Just check it out, and don't be like me. Metallica's way. Don't get me wrong, the Black Album's awesome,
Had
but
huge commercial success.
like I've heard singles from all their other albums, but I never sat and listened to them until my buddy here told me, "Dude, here, listen to it," and I'm like,
Do yourself
right.
a favor, yes. You know, what I mean,
don't be like me.
if you're not familiar with the '80s Metallica, hey, that's okay. You know, give these a listen. You know what I mean?
That's what I did, and it was great.
There's just something classic about that era, man. I just love that whole sound of this '80s thrash, and then all these records still hold up today. You know, so if you like what you heard today, feel free to subscribe. I'm Joey.
I'm Jason.
And this is Metal
Monster
Review.